Hi, welcome back, my lovely little ducklings. Wait, that's not a duck. Hi, welcome back, my silly little geese. In this week's video, I'm making a white dress. I'm making this dress from like 90% thrifted materials. So I went looking for like bed sheets in the thrift store and I found this fabric. I don't think it was a bed sheet, it was just like a lovely soft, smooth fabric, completely white, you know, with holes and stains, but we cut around that. And I also found some trim that is like a lace trim, so I used that too. From what I know, it is called broderie anglaise, so if you search that, you will find fabric and trims just like that. So yeah, and the dress looks a little bit like, you know, a dirndl or milkmaid dress, if you will, but yeah, we love it, and I'm gonna show you how I made it. Let's get into it. Alright, so here's my little sketch that I made. I did change the skirt from this, but that's basically it. And I'm starting out with a pattern that I already had, so I could figure out some of the shapes. And I made a mock-up from that. I noted all the changes, and I created this paper pattern for myself. I tried to cut it out as good as I can, saving as much fabric. This is always hard for me. I cut 2 of every piece for the lining and the shell. Here you can see all the 4 pieces that I'm gonna need for one of the lining or the shell. And I have marked the center front because I'm gonna go gather this right now at the top part of the bodice. I am gathering it with a basting stitch, and then after that I am going to go right over it with a regular stitch to fix that in place. And this is what it's gonna look like. I'm doing that for the lining and the shell, obviously. And then I am going to place the top part onto the bottom part of the bodice, and I'm starting to pin at the tip so I can go out from both sides, so it will be as even as possible. And that's what it should look like after I sewed it. I also attached the side seams together and also the shoulder seams so I can give it a little try on. Everything was looking alright here, so I grabbed the other side, the lining, and placed both of these right sides together. And I also sandwiched this cute little trim in between while sewing all the way around the neckline. I just made sure to place it so that it will peek out the amount that I wanted, and I pinned all of that in place and just sewed it right down with a straight stitch. I then ironed this. You could do a top stitch or an understitch, but I didn't think I needed it, so I left it as is. And here you can see that it gapes a little bit, but you know, I left it. I did a little stitch in the middle there between the chest to fix it in place, but that's about it. And in the back it was a little bit too much because I needed a lacing gap. So I cut off the excess. And then I tried to decide on what kind of lacing loops I would like. I decided to go with this a little bit thicker material, and I folded it in half and top stitched it so I could use it for my loops, just like this. Things life throws at you. I never knew I'd feel so safe in your eyes. I folded my loops and I placed them equally spaced apart. I measured them and marked them, and then I stuck them in between the lining and the shell layer, you know, the wrong way around, so they would come out looking the right way around. You can see what I'm doing. This is what it looked like. Make sure to iron it well. I also sewed over it so there would be a channel for some boning, so the lacing gap wouldn't be like scrunched or anything. And I was already at the sleeve. I used some mock-up material to make one, and I made some changes to it, and now I'm cutting out my paper pattern. Can make me feel the way that you do. Feels like I'm dancing on moonlight. Along the bottom of the sleeve, I would like to have some shirring. I also tested that before, and I think it looks very cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark my lines. And you're gonna need some elastic in your elastic thread in your bobbin and some regular thread on top. It actually looks very cute and is also, I feel, more comfortable than just straight up elastic in there, because it's a little bit less tight, I feel like. And then I placed my trim that I had right sides together with my sleeve, and I sewed it down with a straight stitch as well. After that, I cut off the excess that I had, and I tried to finish it in a way where it's kind of a flat felt seam. So I tucked one of the fabrics on top of each other so that it will be somewhat finished, and I didn't need to use any overlocking or such. Here you can see how I'm tucking it. If you leave a little more space than I did, it will probably be easier, but it worked out just fine. And this is how it looks from the inside and also from the outside. Nice and clean finished. Now that I did all of these things, I'm going to put 2 basting stitches along the curve of the sleeve. And I'm pulling those. Make sure to mark the top of the sleeve in the beginning so you can place that perfectly on the shoulder seam. And I always start at the bottom, at the armpit seam, and I pin very carefully all the way around. And I actually, at this stage, I usually try it on again to see if I placed the ruffles nicely, and then I sew it down. This seam I finished with an overlock in the end, because that's just the easiest thing to do. Also, don't forget to remove your basting stitches after you're done. Moving on to the skirt, I was trying to calculate some triangles so the skirt would be voluminous and still gatherable. I actually put in these seams at the front, which I didn't end up needing because I didn't end up making a slit, but that's okay. I gathered both of my skirt panels. I also added another piece of trim right around the waistline. I first sewed together the shell with one of the skirts and then also the lining with one of the skirts. I actually did this like 2 or 3 times because I just couldn't get the placement right. So yeah, don't give up. And I also cut off the excess here and overlocked it, and in the end I actually added a top stitch right along the waist so there wouldn't be like gapping or shifting in between the 2 layers. I also cut the lining skirt longer than the other skirt, so there would be a little bit of a tier thing happening like this. And then I finished the back by sewing them together and leaving a gap at the top. And I added these snap buttons that are basically invisible to that gap. I never knew I'd feel so safe in your arms. Now you're all I need. It wasn't long. Yeah, I also used some ribbon to do up the lacing in the back. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Here you can also see where I put the boning in the lacing gap and how I used some of the trim all around. You can see some markings here, but that's like vanishing ink, so it went away after a while, so don't worry about that. And yeah, here are more of the details, and in a bit you're gonna see me wearing it. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! Nothing in this world can make me feel the way that you do. Feels like I'm dancing on moonlight. Of all the stars at night, none of them can shine as bright as you do. They can't compare to